Hi. Welcome. I'm Danielle.
I'm Drew.
Nice to meet you, Drew.
Yeah. Hi, Danielle. Arkady.
Nice to meet you, Arkady. Thanks so much for coming. I know this took a lot of time out of your day, but I think your physician thought it was really important that you have a little consultation before he prescribes you any medication. So, do you guys have any questions about this process before I start? Any questions? No? Have you guys ever been to counseling before?
Not me.
Okay. Okay.
As a little kid.
As a kid? Okay. You want to tell me what the referral was about? I just got a little blurb from your doctor, so.
We've been having issues in the bedroom, I guess. We kind of felt like we might have been having issues with erectile dysfunction.
The doctor's been, considering prescribing you medication for the erectile dysfunction, but thinks that maybe you might want to get some couples counseling first to see if it's at that level.
Yeah, he just wanted to see if there were other issues. He's really understanding, he's in, I guess, of that mentality, thinking that doing the both type of therapy would really help.
Sure, definitely. Do you want to tell me what's been leading to this issue? Give a little bit of backstory on how long this has been going on, how long you guys have been together, just some background information on the relationship.
We've been together 4 years now, and I guess this problem's really just come up in the last about a year and a half or so.
Okay.
So I mean, it's been a while, but we just kind of decided it might be time to fix things. As with all the new laws and everything, we're kind of looking into the next step as a couple.
Oh, great. Okay.
Make sure that we have all of our areas of our relationship fixed before we take that big step.
Okay, so basically you're considering getting married but want to make sure that this issue can be resolved first.
Yeah, we kind of feel like it's driving a wedge between us.
Definitely. So what's that wedge look like? What's the problem with it? Tell me what your sex life looks like.
I guess for me, there's not as engaged in it.
He's really withdrawn. When it comes to our sex life, he's pretty withdrawn for the most part.
What do you mean by withdrawn?
Well, he tries to avoid sexual contact, at every chance he gets.
So not like emotionally absent, just like not engaging sexually?
Yeah. He's, in most other areas of our relationship, we're fine. It's when it comes down to the bedroom, like he said earlier, it's been a really difficult situation to get past. So there's been a lot of arguments, a lot of
times I feel pressure.
So how much are you guys engaging sexually? Like, if you could put a number on it.
per week.
Yeah, per week or per month, however you think is appropriate to gauge it.
2 minutes.
No, not how long. Like how many times? Probably like maybe three times.
3 times a month? Okay, so a little bit less than once.
That's a good month.
A good month? Okay.
Yeah, it's a really good
What
month.
does a bad month look like?
Not at all.
For a month? Is that the longest that you guys go without engaging sexually? Is about a month, or sometimes it's a little bit longer?
I think there was a time where we went for a few months.
I think when we were having those problems, I think a lot of it was me. I guess a lot of times I feel pressure. Like he's really, I guess, really aggressive sexually. Really.
What does it look like when you're having a longer period? How long do you go without having sex? What's the longest?
It was about 3 months, and that was probably when we were having the most issues. Like,
What kind of issues?
with the erectile dysfunction, I was a little bit nervous, and he's really aggressive and really pushes for sex a lot more than what we do have sex. And so I feel pressured a lot, and I just try to keep it, keep myself out of it.
Okay, so you're kind of avoiding sex when... Okay, so can you elaborate a little bit more about when things were good in your relationship? What that looked like? How much you were engaging sexually? And what that was?
He's right about the beginning. you know, for the first few months. It was probably 2-3 times a day around there. So, you know, new relationship, so it was
Okay.
pretty good.
Okay,
It was
excuse me, how long
really
did
good.
that last? Yeah.
Mhm.
Really.
Yeah.
So it lasted for probably about 6 months.
Okay. All right. And what changed then after that 6 months?
He was going outside of the relationship for some more sex, I guess, more experience.
Okay. How did you find out about that? And was it a one-time thing or was it kind of reoccurring?
No, we have a close group of friends that we kind of got around to.
Okay. So you found out kind of through the grapevine.
Yeah.
Okay. And what happened when you confronted him about it?
He kind of minimized it. He was just like, it wasn't a big deal to him.
So you didn't really take a lot of responsibility for it?
Well, I mean, he admitted to it, but he didn't see what the problem was.
Okay. Okay. So how did that change your sex life? What impact did it have?
It pretty much went to non-existent.
Disappeared, yep.
Okay. For how long?
A while.
A little bit.
Just for that first year at least. It got a little bit better after some time.
So you didn't have sex at all for a year in between then?
Well, it wasn't very often.
It wasn't good either.
Okay.
It's pretty mediocre.
So this was about 4 years ago when this started happening?
Yeah, probably like the main issues, like when we really saw a decline in everything.
How much would you say that you were engaging sexually at that point?
A couple times a month.
Okay. So you went from like 2 or 3 times a day to a couple times a month, pretty much overnight when you found out all this was going on.
Yeah.
Okay. And what informed your decision to stay together, to work it out? Did you resolve these issues?
Well, I mean, I
How are
stopped.
things in the rest of your relationship? So the communication, you guys get along, are you arguing a lot?
You know, we get along, but I don't know if we really communicate that great.
But now you're considering getting married, so you wanted to make sure that these issues are resolved prior to that. Okay. And what are your expectations about the relationship? Are you guys on the same page with that, or have you outlined it very clearly, what you expect from one another in a partner?
Just in general, are we talking about sex only?
Both general and sex.
I can't, we don't really communicate that great, so I don't know if we've ever really talked about it. I think we both have our own opinions, but they probably aren't the same.
So what are your opinions? What's your opinion, Drew?
I'm very much of the thought that, you know, monogamy is the way to go. You know, you commit to a relationship, and that's where you should stay.
I'm the same way, but I need more sex. I just absolutely do.
So how have you been dealing with the lack of sex in the relationship lately?
I don't know, super angry, yelling, screaming, storming out of the house. You never get violent, but sometimes it gets pretty scary.
So there's never been any instance of domestic violence? So with your sexual history, it's kind of stayed the same for the past 3 years, maybe 3.5 years, at the decline, 2 to 3 times a month. You liked it to be about 2 to 3 times a day, is that correct?
He did.
What did you like?
Not that often.
Okay.
Maybe a few times a week was okay for me.
Okay. What's been your expectation in the past? How did you come into your sexuality and sexual relationships?
My family was always open. When I was in high school, I was actually into girls. You know, I really liked girls, and I felt like I was straight. But as I got older, I started feeling uncomfortable. It didn't feel right. I felt like I was leading these girls on a path that I couldn't really follow. And because my family was open about sexuality, they encouraged me to explore any way I needed to be able to feel comfortable with who I was on the inside.
Okay. So your family seems pretty supportive. And what about your
Yeah,
family?
definitely.
How were you raised, and what were your expectations regarding sex and relationships? And
The complete opposite of Drew's. Very, very, very rigid about sexuality, in the sense that nobody really talked about it. Homosexuality on top of that was even, that much more of a taboo topic.
okay, so that was unaccepted in your family.
You could say that, but there's more to that story. Yeah, it was conversation about sexuality was just not gonna
So
happen.
have you had previous relationships that were committed, that you've had any long-term relationships, fairly long-term, that you had expectations sexually, or what did that look like?
You wanna go?
Sure. I haven't had nearly as many relationships as he has. I mean, I was a lot more, I guess, more committed to the relationships that I did have. So I've had fewer, 4 or 5 at the most. And so I guess for me, I would say that they were normal sex lives. A couple times a week, was the biggest thing. And I didn't really feel pressured by any of them.
So you were comfortable with 2 to 3 times a week,
Yeah.
I would say. Okay. And what age did you come out? Did you say 19? Or?
About 19.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And how about you? What was the expectation in your past relationships?
More sex, the better, I guess. I mean, it was really no limitations to sexual boundaries, I guess.
They didn't really have relationships.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So what's the longest relationship next to this that you've had?
Well, the guy that I had the little affair with was about a year and a half
Okay.
altogether.
Were you committed in that relationship, or were you also seeing other people?
No. Okay, so I guess I did. That's where I met Drew.
Okay. So you were cheating on him with Drew, basically, and then made the decision to stay with Drew, cut that off, but then went back. What is your expectation for this relationship?
About the same. I mean, I don't want to sound like an asshole, but I mean, really, sex is very important to me, and I feel that we should have it at least twice or 3 times a day.
Okay. Is that something that you're comfortable with, or where's your
Not
expectation?
right now.
When things were good, were you enjoying sex 3 times a day, somewhere around there, or did you think that was a little too much?
Again, I think it was too much. He's aggressive. He pushes a lot. I feel pressure really to perform for him, and I can't.
So do you feel like that pressure causes a lack of performance?
It might have something to do with it.
Okay. Do you feel anxious or
Angry.
like you're angry? Okay.
Yeah.
Angry that he's so aggressive?
Well,
Or
that he
angry
pushes.
Okay. Where do you stand on the past infidelity? Do you feel like that's been resolved adequately, or?
Not so much. And maybe that's why I feel like he pushes so hard, is because I'm making him cut it off with everybody else.
Okay, so it sounds like you guys have different expectations on how frequently you would expect sex in a relationship.
I can say that, yeah.
Do you think that there's a middle ground that maybe once we get to what's behind these issues, what's causing the erectile dysfunction, the low sexual desire, and the excessive sexual desire over here, do you think there's ever a middle ground that you could compromise on?
We'll have to wait and see.
Okay, that's fair enough. What do you think, Arkady?
Well, I mean, I guess it's not only about the quantity, the amount of the sex that we have. I'd like to have some quality. I'd like to see that he enjoys it, and that, he wants to participate in it as much. I don't want to feel like I have to force him to do it,
So you don't want to feel like the aggressor?
Yeah, not at all.
Okay.
But I'm gonna get what I need, I guess.
Is that what you're afraid of?
Yeah.
Because it sounded a little bit threatening to me.
Yeah.
Is that Is that how it was meant?
No, I guess not. No. I just think that because we're in a monogamous relationship and I've been able to commit myself to him, that there should be that compromise. If I did give that up a long time ago, and you keep throwing it back in my face, you know, it makes me angry that you keep throwing it back in my
Stop
face.
pushing.
So it sounds like you both have needs that you feel are unmet. Is that a correct assumption?
Yeah.
That you might be able to give in one way or another, both of you, if you felt that those needs were met appropriately. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and stop there. And I just want to let you guys know that, you know, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in any of my assumptions. We're going to get into more of the steps in the process in next week. And I just want you guys to be aware that having difficult discussions like this at home isn't really advised right now because it might bring up conflict or escalate the situation. So try to hold off on having those conversations until we're here in session. Is that something that we can agree upon for now?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, I will see you guys next time. How's everything gone over the week? I just wanted to check in really quickly. Make sure you're doing okay.
About the same. I guess we didn't fight, and you told us not to talk much about it. So.
Okay. Has anything changed, or you've kind of been taking it slow?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to touch on the fact that I remember last session, Drew was saying that the more you push Arkady, the less he wants to engage sexually. So that kind of rung a bell with me, and I wanted to see how you guys feel about that, if that sparks any insight into what might be going on here.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I have my own, you know, reasons why I push, I guess, because I want that sexual commitment from him, I guess. But my end of that is that it makes me angry because I don't get that from him. My need is not being met, like you said, Leslie.
And it sounds like the more that need isn't met, the more you push because you feel like you're rightfully deserve that.
Correct.
Okay. So I just kind of wanted to touch base with you and see what you thought about that kind of interactional pattern. Do you see that as a dance that you guys do, going back and forth?
Yeah, like we talked about last week, you know, he's really aggressive and he pushes, and like I'm not really comfortable with the fact that I can't really perform at all, and so like when he pushes, like yeah, I'm gonna back away more, and he gets upset. We start yelling, and we both get mad, and it's like, you know, it's almost like he's blaming me for having a problem, you know. And
it sounds like that problem might be a result of, you know, the uncomfortable feeling of being pushed so hard or interacting in this way.
yeah, it could be.
Maybe there's some anxiety about not performing. So welcome back. I just wanted to kind of touch on today what the emotions are that are kind of underlying that interactional phase that we talked about in our last couple session, if you guys remember that. And we were talking about the dance that kind of go back and forth on that pattern of Arkady pushing too much and you pulling away even more, and which makes him push farther and you pull farther away, right?
Yeah. Makes sense.
So
yeah.
how does that make you feel when that happens? I want to kind of talk about the emotions in it.
When he pushes, or the whole cycle?
When he pushes.
Definitely angry. I really feel. I just want him to stop. I get upset. Like we talked about, we both start yelling.
Okay. So you get angry, and that kind of increases, intensifies the situation.
Yeah.
Escalates into an argument.
Yeah, we're both hotheads sometimes.
Understandable. How's that make you feel when Drew pulls back or distances himself even more, says no?
Yeah, just as he's super angry, super frustrated that, you know, no matter what I do, he pulls away. So angry, frustration, those are the emotions that come to mind.
So it sounds like there's a lot of anger between both of you in this whole dance that's going on. That, you know, it's just frustrating you even more and making you distance from one another. Thanks for coming in to see me. I really appreciate it. The reason I wanted to meet with you is because individually I wanted to talk about how you can express emotions and how that those emotions, what they mean to you, and how you can describe them. So I'd like for you to learn how to speak the language of emotion, if that makes any sense.
Kind of.
And that'll kind of help avoid some of the things like defensiveness in your relationship.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So I'm going to give you some words of emotions, and I just want you to describe to me what they are, or what they look like, and how they feel.
Okay.
Okay? Let's start with fear.
Oh man, if we're going back to my childhood, it's being terrified of family, I guess. That would be the thing that I would first go to when it comes to fears. Family.
Do you have any fears now? Are you still afraid of your family?
I don't think it's more fear of my family anymore. It's more fear of, I guess, fear of commitment to people that, that want to be close to me, kind of like my family.
Are you afraid that they're going to leave you, or abandon you, or are you afraid that you're going to leave them? Where does that fear stem from?
I think if I really, I have thought about it before, and I think it really comes down to the fact that, if my family was able to do something like that to me without remorse, then why would I trust somebody that is not my blood? And I guess it is fear of abandonment that they'll just leave me or hurt me.
In our session today, I just kind of wanted to go back to those hard emotions that we were talking about last week. And you both had mentioned that you felt angry, sometimes frustrated, when you're doing that dance back and forth. And I just was wondering what's underneath those feelings, what's causing those feelings. So what is the anger? How does that translate into something softer, something that's a little more understandable to your partner? What are you so mad at?
I think I'm a little bit afraid of the aggressiveness. Like, I kind of feel like he hasn't changed. That his pushing just it's kind of his way of saying that he's still out there, he's still active, like he needs more, he wants more. And I guess it makes me afraid that if I were to give in a little bit more, I'd be setting myself up for heartache. I'm afraid that he's going to leave. I'm afraid that not much has changed.
So you're afraid that he's, that infidelity, that he's going to cheat again?
Yeah.
That if he needs it more, then that's going to cause him to go look for it elsewhere. Okay, definitely a good point. What's underneath that anger for you and the frustration that you're mentioning?
I would say what's underneath the anger, fear, again, like with him. But my fear is different in the sense that I'm afraid my lack of commitment comes probably from the fact that I'm afraid of being abandoned, I guess. My family was not family.
They weren't really there for you.
Yeah. So, if I can't trust family again, I can't really commit myself to trust somebody else.
So there's a lack of trust and a fear that he's going to leave, that you're not wanting, that he's not wanting to have sex with you because he doesn't want to engage in a relationship anymore. So that he's going to leave you. That makes sense. Does that make sense to both of you? Did you hear what your partner said?
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
I definitely understand a little bit more, especially with what happened to him when he was a kid. I can see how he'd be afraid of that. He'd be afraid of not getting what he was taught. It's a relationship.
So what about you, Arcady?
What do I understand now about Drew?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I guess this whole time that I thought that we were, past my cheating, but I can see that it's really taken a toll on him and the way he looks at our relationship. So I guess I can be more understanding and more patient with that.
That's great. That's an excellent first step, and I think that that's going to provide you guys with a lot more empathy towards one another in the relationship, and understanding where you're coming from, and translating those emotions from being so hard and rigid and just that someone's mad at you to understanding why and what's underneath what's causing that, so that you can maybe avoid it in the future. So today I wanted to focus on Drew and kind of how some of his needs aren't being met in this relationship, because it sounds like you've kind of pushed them to the side lately and really focused on, Arcady's need to have sex more often, and I want to talk about what you need to be satisfied in the relationship. So what are some of those needs that you have that you haven't really owned up to lately?
Security. Knowing
That's a good one.
that he's not going to go anywhere. The way I see a relationship is it should be secure. You should know that if you're going to be vulnerable, if you're going to be physically intimate, there should be a sense of loyalty.
Absolutely. And what does Arcady do to show you that, to give you that sense of security and stability in the relationship?
I know that we've talked about it, like he has cut it off with his ex completely. It's been a little bit now since that ended. And he tells me all the time that he's not stepping out, so I believe him. Yeah, I believe that he's there. I guess a lot of it's just me who's, I don't know, I need to see it. I need to see it slow down.
So still not feeling as secure because he's needing it so much, you think that he's probably looking elsewhere for it, or getting that urge to go outside the relationship.
Yeah.
So it sounds like if Arcady could maybe give you a little bit more reassurance somehow, that might increase your engagement in sexual activities with him.
Yeah, also I think, we talked about before with when we got angry, he would leave the house, and I think that's another thing that kind of plays into my fear. He leaves, and I'm like, well, I didn't give it to him, so where is he going to go get it now? So, again, I guess slowing down with the pushing. We could both just work on our anger and work it out instead, stay home, not go somewhere.
Right. And I know that you said that, ideally you would like to be involved sexually maybe about 2 to 3 times a week. And that's not happening at this point, right?
Not really.
Okay. So would you say that's a need that you're denying yourself at this point, that you're not meeting, that?
Yeah. I would say that.
So it's not just you, the Arcady that's not getting what he wants, it's also that you're not getting what you want sexually in a relationship. So I think that's important for Arcady to understand too, that it's not that you want to have sex once a month, right?
Yeah.
That it's more or less that you feel backed into a corner with all the pushing.
Yes.
Is that a correct assumption? Okay. So let me get this right. If you felt more reassured by Arcady, you might be more willing to engage with him.
I'd agree with Mike at this point, like we've talked about before, just let things take their time. I'm going to need some time to get over everything, see if we can fix some of the problems with that medication and do more relationship fixing.
Yeah, and that makes sense to me that, if you weren't as concerned about him being faithful to you and not being faithful, that you might be more attracted and, feeling the need that you're denying yourself right now.
I wouldn't say that it wasn't ever, like, I lost the being attracted to him, more just, I was too afraid to engage.
That makes sense. And how does that affect you, Arcady, hearing that from Drew?
In a very positive way. It's a ton of fun. maybe we did lose that attraction, and then I wasn't as attracted to him. Now knowing that that's not part of it makes things a little bit easier.
So maybe a little bit of empathy towards his position, it sounds like. So this session, I really want to focus on you guys turning to one another and really expressing your needs and how you can meet and responding to one another by how you can meet those needs. So it's kind of a compromise at the end of the session. So instead of focusing on responding to my questions, I want you guys to talk to one another. Maybe Drew can start and just look at one another and interact naturally with one another and just tell your partner what your needs are and how they can meet them, and they can respond by telling you what they can do to meet those needs. Let me know if you have any questions. Please sit back for this one.
I need time. So
You're doing good.
Like-
Time's a good start.
slow, I guess, you know. I mean, there are days that you come home and like, man, you know, this is gonna be a great day, and then I kind of feel like the pushing just starts, and so it's like just, I don't know. I guess let me take it at my pace a little bit.
All right, I can, I guess I can, depending on how the day goes, I can, we can have conversations, and I won't get offended if you say no. So if, as long as you say no, I'll be okay. I won't push.
Drew, do you need to be the one that initiates sometimes? Do you feel like you don't get that chance because he's always pushing towards the aggressor position? It might be totally
Yeah.
off base, but
I mean, we're both men, you know? I guess you talk about like the typical male, has the need to dominate every now and then. So, yeah, like I guess sometimes give me that chance.
so it sounds like maybe you'd initiate it a little more often if he gave you that space to do that and wasn't always pushing because you never had the chance to.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Good. What about you, Arkady? What are your needs?
Where do I begin? Now, I guess my need is just to feel that, for me, that sexual experience shows that you care and that you love me and that you're committed to me, and if I don't get it, I automatically think that there is that abandonment that we talked about. And I really want to, I want you to, I guess my need is that you take the initiative at times, and you make it happen.
Excellent, guys. How do you feel about that? Does it feel a little bit different than the pushing back and forth and withdrawing game that you've been playing?
Yeah,
Yeah?
a lot calmer.
Months
And
now,
more
so
relief.
I know that, you've come a long way from where we were in the beginning, and I just want you guys to recognize your progress there, but, maybe a little bit more safe for you now to have these discussions outside on your own, slowly, taking it very slowly, and still having the support here in the office to rely back on. Okay, so take it at your own pace, nothing, don't push it too fast or too far or anything, but just see how it goes and then let me know.
Okay.
To the next session. Good to see you guys.
Hi.
You guys look completely different to me today.
We're a lot happier than we have been, I would say. Yeah.
I would say too. What's different? What happened?
We went home and, we talked about actually having the conversations at home and working a little bit on the compromise that we had, and we actually had a really good night. It was just a couple nights ago, and he came home and he sat down and said, hey, I just want to talk. I mean, that was great for me, and it made me really feel connected to him, and I actually felt like there wasn't anything behind it, and so I guess it just that was really big for me. It really helped me be like, you know what, this is gonna be a good night for him too.
Wonderful. So it was really that genuineness that kind
Yeah.
of sparked the interest there.
Yeah, definitely.
It was
Okay.
fantastic. Yeah, it was like,
Sounds like you weren't really expecting that, huh?
no, not at all. It was like the 4th of July again.
Okay.
Don't bring that up. So, we had fireworks for about, what, 8 hours that night?
It did end up being a long
Wonderful.
night, so yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So somebody's all smiles over here. It sounds like both of you got exactly what you were looking
Yeah.
for.
Yeah, no, it was good.
Okay.
We had a couple sessions that one night, so you know, it was, yeah.
So it was a really long, passionate night, it sounds like.
It was a good night.
Okay.
Like we talked about before, you know, the whole dominating thing was like, because I was able, he was letting go, I was able to let go, and I just let him go.
Okay, and it turned out you no problems with the ED at all?
No, not at all.
That's
Not at
amazing.
all.
That's amazing. That's a huge step.
I really felt like there was a lot of pressure that was just kind of lifted off because he wasn't pushing. So,
Oh, okay. What does that mean to you, Arkady?
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, it's been a long time coming, and I think you know, it felt natural and it felt great. And I'm pretty happy.
Good, good. Well, I hope this continues, and it sounds like you guys are really ready to move into that next phase together. That you're kind of bringing that old resentment and the anger and the guilt and the blaming and all those harsh feelings of frustration, fear that you were feeling, maybe to a close. It might be time to let go of some of that. What do you guys think?
yeah, definitely. I can.
Yeah, I mean, I got some work to do because I mean, my issues are pretty complex, but
Sometimes something that
Really?
helps with bringing some abuse and trauma issues, especially through childhood, to a close. And these are just suggestions, so let me know if you're comfortable with them or want to, they're easily manipulated, so you can change them around however they might best be suited to you. But one of them is what we call an empty chair technique, and just kind of, since those people aren't really in your life anymore that abused you, and that you wouldn't want to start re-engaging in any kind of relationship with them through the family. It sounds like our past discussions. Maybe just letting go of that somehow, and pretending like that person was here in a chair. The chair is empty, so you could tell them how it affected you and what you felt and how you were wronged by it and what it's caused you in the past. And sometimes that gives a lot of people some more relief of that, carrying that burden on their shoulders. So what do you feel about doing something like that? Sometimes it's a little uncomfortable and sometimes it's not suited for everybody. So I just wanted to run that past you and see if that would be something you're interested in.
doesn't sound like a bad idea. I mean, it might be a little awkward sitting there talking to an empty chair,
Okay.
but
There's a couple ways that you can, kind of tweak that a little bit. If you're more comfortable writing a letter and explaining everything, that you feel and how it's affected you, just like if you were writing that letter to a person. Make it as detailed as possible. You can keep it private or you can share it with Drew, however you feel. And then whatever would be most appropriate in your case. So some people like to burn the letter. They have a big ceremony. Some people like to shred it up. Some people like to send it off, or some people like to keep it, if they want to look back ever in the future and see how they've changed or how that it's affected them in the past. So does that sound something that might be a
yeah,
little more
I
appropriate?
can see myself doing that a lot more because it's just, and I think I can write more than I can say it.
Okay.
So I think it's something I can try.
It sounds like you guys are definitely in touch with those underlying softer emotions too. At this point, you're not really identifying with those hard, defensive emotions like anger, frustration, things like that. That you're more understanding of one another's perspective and what's causing those angry feelings and those underlying root causes and how to avoid them.
Yep.
Good. So I think we're gonna probably drop our sessions down to maybe once a month now and check in next month and see how you guys are and see when it would be a good time to back out of this support when you guys are ready to be completely on your own, knowing that we'll always be here in case you need me. You know, you can always come back after that, but I think that it's good for you guys to get a little bit of practice standing on your own and supporting one another. And